With a new season of anime comes a bunch of different shows for me to sit down and watch. And with so many sequels as well as brand new shows coming out, I'm here to talk about my feelings on some of the shows I've been checking out this season. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop into this season's multi-current review. Just living my normal life as just a normal average guy. Whoa!
Hello there!
Whoa, what the heck?
You've been chosen as an isekai protagonist.
Wait, no, I don't wanna!
So you can... Wait, what? You don't wanna?
Yeah, I don't wanna.
Too bad.
No! What? You like me? Well, I guess going out is okay, as long as you're not into stuff like... No! I want to bring it right now! Let me go! I don't want to be here anymore! Starting things off, we got the foolish angel dances with the devil, which follows a demon named Akutsu and an angel named Amane, who, after enslaving Akutsu, now is forcing him to work with her to fight demons, among other things. However, as that goes on, they slowly start to form a connection with each other. And yeah, that's basically how the show kind of starts. And so, I'm gonna share my thoughts. So, in terms of my own thoughts, I'd say the show is overall pretty enjoyable. It wasn't my first pick on this list and like actual what I was trying to watch. In fact, originally I was planning to watch Sasaki and Peeps, but the first two episodes didn't really sit with me, so I ended up switching this show. And overall, I'd say the show is actually pretty fun. There are a lot of cliche moments where they'll try to do some normal plot beats that occur in normal rom-com anime. However, despite there being a few cliches here and there, I think that the overall connection between the two main characters is actually quite nice. In fact, I think that their main relationship dynamic of the show is definitely the best charm of the show. Like, it really brings things together. And also, sometimes the comedy can actually be pretty funny. Sure, it's not the cream of the crop levels of comedy. However, it's still fairly funny, and I did have a good time. It's not perfect, and once the story gets a bit more serious, it kind of lost me a little bit, as I felt like it just wasn't that entertaining anymore, because now that we were focusing more on a serious plot, there wasn't time to just enjoy these two interacting. But it is what it is, and while I don't think it is my favorite show on this list, I didn't hate it, and I overall had a good time. Plus, seeing these two kind of try to go at each other's throats and trying to make the other win each other over, like they're trying to make the other fall in love with them, which happens in the story, is also really funny. And just overall, the comedy in the show, while not, again, perfect, it still has its pretty funny moments. And yeah, overall, I've been really enjoying the show. I don't know if I'll finish it, but if I do, I'm curious to see where things go forward. And yeah, overall, I give The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil a 7 out of 10. And with that, let's move on to the next one.
Alright, time to choose which heroes go where today.
What?
Congrats, you're the sword hero.
I don't know.
Have a safe trip. Ah! As for you, how about the spear hero?
Huh?
Goodbye.
Ah!
And finally, you're hideous.
That's kind of hurtful.
You're a shield hero, no doubt. Good day, you maggot.
But I don't even use a shield. Ah, come on! Tsukimichi is back with its second season, and I'm all here for it. And since I really enjoyed the first season, I'm very curious to see what kind of stuff this season has to have in store. But enough about that for now. The way the story starts is Makoto is trying to save some people from a group of adventurers who are trying to take advantage of them, only to find out that they're actually living in this village where a bandit group called Moon Over the Ruined Castle, which is the same name as a song Makoto likes, is called. And when he's out there, he tries to take care of the bandits, and that's kind of how the story starts. And I'm aware that doesn't really make too much sense, but that is just how the first episode begins. After that, it's a bit wonky because the first 3 episodes themselves are already just kind of this weird existence compared to the rest of the season. Like, they're just that bit of an off note, which we'll talk about those right now. So yeah, let's just talk about those. So the odd thing about them is the first 3 episodes are kind of just filler / recap episodes. Not really recap as much as it's trying to go back and tell the stories of the other heroes that came to this world besides Makoto. And it's fine. The episodes are fine. The first 3 episodes are all right. They're not terrible. But I definitely feel like after that, once we got to episode 4 and onward, the show has been really picking up steam, and I'm really enjoying it, and I hope it stays that way since I've been having a good time. I think a lot of the different characters and their interactions is fun, and I'm very curious to see how things go, especially since we have a 25 episode season this time around. And I'm excited to see the kind of things that Makoto and everyone else on his group kind of goes through. I want to see the kind of things they experience. And overall, I'm just really enjoying myself with this second season. It may not be perfect, but there are so many funny moments and so many kind of interesting plot moments overall that really add a lot to the show. And it just gets me excited week by week to keep watching new episodes. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what we have in store next, since everything past those first 3 episodes has been fantastic. I've been really freaking enjoying myself. And just all in all, I like it a lot. I've been really enjoying it, and I feel like Tsukimichi Season 2 is starting to really fit well with the kind of vibe I had with Season 1, where I felt like it was just super freaking enjoyable. And that's why I give, as of right now, Tsukimichi Season 2 an 8 out of 10. I hope it can keep up the momentum with future episodes, and without further ado, let's move on to the next show. Alright, going into a different fantasy setting this time around, we have Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon. This story follows a group of adventurers who, after losing both a team member as well as the last of their funds during a battle in the dungeons against a dragon, now have to go back and rescue said team member, but without money, they aren't able to buy food. And that's why in the end they decide, as they're going down to go save that team member, they're now gonna try to eat monsters in the dungeon. And that's basically how the show kind of plays out, where they fight a bunch of different monsters and cook them. And yeah, so to be perfectly honest, I actually didn't really like this show at the start. The first few episodes, or at least the first couple, I wasn't that interested in. I thought they were kind of mediocre. They weren't super special. They weren't bad, but they weren't really amazing. But then episode 3 and onward really started to pick it up for me. The episodes got more interesting, and before I knew it, I was really freaking enjoying myself. The cooking segments are really entertaining, and I think they're very interesting. And there's just so many elements to how the monsters in this show are cooked, and the way of how they defeat all these different monsters. And I just found myself starting to really get into it, as each episode is just so entertaining now. And I'm so glad I stuck around with the show, because it's just got so good. It just got so flipping good. And I'm excited to see more. I really enjoyed the show, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff here. And also, there's just some really funny moments. I really love the bonds between the characters. Like, you can actually tell these guys have interacted with each other for a long time. And overall, I'm just really enjoying myself. And I'm ready to see what happens next. I'm ready to see what kind of stuff we get to experience next. And yeah, as of right now, I give Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon, an 8 out of 10. Really freaking enjoying it, and I'm excited to see what kind of dishes they'll cook up next. So now, let's just eat our way through to the next show on this list. Holy crap, that was a bad joke.
Oh wow, I'm about to get my magic tested. I can't wait to find out what it says.
Whoa, incredible!
What? What does it say?
It says,
Yeah,
it says you get no bitches.
huh?
Oh boy, this list is just full of isekai and fantasy anime, so yeah, that's just something I noticed, but that's just how it is. Fantasy and isekai are a very common thing here, but it is what it is. So yeah, we now enter The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, a story following our main character Usato, who, along with a couple of his schoolmates, find themselves summoned to a fantasy world where they have to fight the demons as heroes to protect the people. However, to everyone's surprise, it turns out that Usato was not meant to be there. He was not meant to be summoned along with the other two. It was just meant to be them. He was never intended to be there in the first place. However, after deciding to just stick around because, there's no way for them to go back, Usato decides to just stick with his two classmates until he finds out that he has the special, very rare ability of healing magic, something that isn't too common in this world. And because of that, he ends up getting taken under by a woman named Rose along with her rescue team to train his healing magic and improve it in ways that people normally wouldn't think possible. And that's just how the series starts. Now then, I'm sure that I'm not the only person out there who, when they heard this title, they thought of that other show. But after trying to sit down and watch this show, I was actually surprised to find that it actually wasn't as weird as I thought it might have been. I wasn't thinking like it was going to be that crazy, like that bizarre show that's just absolutely weird beyond comparison to anything else. I don't even know how that thing got made. But for this show, I was going into this thinking it would end up maybe being bland and uninteresting, or actually kind of interesting and really entertaining. But in the end, it kind of got into this weird place where, unlike Dungeon Meshi, where I felt like the show got better as it went on and I enjoyed it more, with this show, it was kind of the opposite, where the first 3 to 4 episodes were actually quite enjoyable. I really enjoyed their story, their world. It was super entertaining. I really liked it. But then we go to the later episodes where the plot really starts to kick into gear, and when it gets to that point, I'm I'm really losing interest. I don't even know if I'm gonna end up finishing this show, because now that we've entered the main plot, the main story of this whole thing, I just don't care. Like, I thought maybe now that the story was diving into more serious storytelling, I care more, but no, in fact, it's the opposite. As the season has progressed, I found myself losing interest. I just don't care anymore. And I think that's due to the fact that as the season has gone on, it's gotten more and more, I guess, fillery? I guess is the right word, because we'll dedicate whole plot lines to just these minor side story type things. But not less like side stories, but more like just stuff to really fill in the runtime. Like, I could tell that there's some episodes where they literally set them up just to exist. Like, without going into spoilers, this is one episode where two characters get lost in some woods for an entire episode. And it's just like, okay, we had to dedicate a whole episode to this. I mean, I get they're kind of bonding a little bit, but not enough for me to care, since one of these characters I barely know and the other character I know a little too much about, so the bonding doesn't really stick with me there. But it is what it is. Overall, I don't think the show is bad. However, as I've kept watching it and checked out more episodes, I found myself losing more and more interest, and at the end of the day, I think I'm probably gonna end up dropping this show, and that's why I have to give The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic a 6 out of 10. With that said, let's move on to the next one. Oh boy, here we are at Classroom of the Elite Season 3. So, as I've said on the channel before, on multiple different occasions, primarily in the reviews for the first 2 seasons, I am a light novel reader for this show. I have been reading the light novels for a while. I'm on year 2. I'm really enjoying the series, and I really want to see where things go from here. However, when I heard they were making a 3rd season that was supposed to wrap up the rest of the first year, meaning they would have to adapt volumes 8 to 11.5, I was very nervous, because honestly, in fact, I might even say I was really annoyed, because I just didn't think it was possible to squeeze it all into 13 episodes. It just wasn't possible. But moving past that, we'll talk about that in a bit. What is the story to start up this season? Basically, after having finished the last few tests, our group now arrives at a campsite where they're interacting with the other grade levels, and they have to try and accomplish goals while surviving at this campsite for a week. And all kinds of twisted turns happen as people are kind of sneaking behind the scenes. A lot of different things are going down, and all kinds of crazy shenanigans are in store, but yeah, that's just how the season starts, so let's just talk about it. So, in my personal opinion, I felt like my worries were actually warranted, as the first 2 episodes, which cover the entirety of Volume 8, were kind of a mess. Episode 2 wasn't as bad, but Episode 1, it just goes up there as one of my least favorite episodes of the show ever, right up there with Season 2's Episode 5 and Season 1's Episode 7. Just those episodes in particular for each season so far are some of the worst episodes I have ever seen. And they just remind me that while this show can have some good moments, overall it's not a good adaptation. Especially with how we'll cut out some really funny scenes or serious scenes or important scenes that will be relevant to later plot lines. There are also some scenes that aren't necessary but really deserve to be in there. Why didn't they add the T-Rex scene in from Volume 8? That was such a good scene. Why did they not add it? But overall, I just think that those 2 episodes were definitely the worst part of it, since everything after that isn't bad. In fact, I'd say that it's more on par with how I felt about Season 1, where the plot isn't perfect. There are definitely some cuts that I hated and other things that really could have been handled a lot better. But overall, as of right now, which they've now adapted volumes 9 and 10 at the time of this recording, I think they're doing an actually pretty solid job. Not everything is perfect. One of my favorite characters has a plotline in this that was really good in the light novel, but in the anime, the ending of it, most of it wasn't bad, but the ending of it was pretty botched and was honestly not very good. But other than that, I do think the way they're handling this season is a lot better than I had anticipated. Plotlines are actually feeling a little more fleshed out. I actually feel invested in some of these plots, even though this is now my 2nd time experiencing them. And I do think there are some good things there. I just still wish this wasn't in a 13 episode season, as with the way things are going, the 11th volume is probably going to take up the next 3 episodes, and 11.5 will all be crammed into 1 episode, like how Season 2 had all of 7.5 crammed into 1 episode, which will be a bit annoying, but it is what it is. Even so, honestly, so far it hasn't been a bad adaptation. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite season, which is hard to say because I don't think any of these seasons are my favorite season, but for how it's handling the storylines, they're not bad. I just wish they were given more time to breathe, as there are some things in there that really really get screwed up. But overall, I don't think it's bad. I do actually enjoy a lot of elements to this. And that's why I have to give, as of right now, Classroom of the Elite Season 3 an 8 out of 10. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. A lot of plotlines are doing really well. It's just there are a few really butchered moments, but I can move past those because I am still enjoying myself with this season. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So let's move on to the next show in this list. Alright, returning to the Isekai world for a bit, we've arrived at my instant death ability is so overpowered that no one in this other world can stand a chance against me, or as I like to just call it, my instant death ability. I don't even know if I said that right. If I did, yay me, but let's move past that for now. So, I know the title is pretty self-explanatory, but to kind of give a quick little summarization, I guess. Basically, we follow our protagonist Takuto along with his friend Donora as they and their classmates find themselves in this other world where both of them are left behind as dragon bait, and it's revealed to Donora that our boy Takuto actually has an instant killing ability that can kill anything as he sees fit, which basically makes him one of the most overpowered people ever. Honestly, if I were to put him against anybody, I feel like he'd win almost every time. The only person who can maybe stand a chance against him is Honest Voldsgood, and even then, he might have a tough time against him. But overall, the story is actually filled with little twists and turns, and yeah, that's basically how things start. They start their adventure after he uses his instant death ability to take out the dragon that they were being used as dragon before, and now they're journeying through this world trying to find a way back home. And yeah, moving on past that and talking about my thoughts here now, I'd say this show is actually quite interesting. I do think there are some elements here that I really enjoy. And what surprised me is that I originally wasn't going to give this show a shot. The art style really didn't speak with me. The whole concept seemed dumb and I just didn't care. But then I decided, you know what? Screw it, let's watch it. Let's just check it out. Let's see how it goes. And I was surprised at how much I actually really enjoyed it. There are so many fun elements here. And while the show isn't perfect, the animation can be a bit wonky at times, like how they'll literally have shades of black that aren't really being used to censor or anything like that. They're just there. There's just black bars there for no reason that are meant to censor parts of the screen, which maybe it's because they didn't finish the drawings for those. I don't know. But I still think that while the animation isn't exactly the best, there's something kind of charming about this story. It's stupid, and since Takuto is so OP, they could never stay in a plotline too long because he'll just instantly kill anything that comes in their way. And it doesn't really help the fact that every single time they try to introduce a new character and develop them, you know they're going to be dead almost immediately. Even so, you still kind of enjoy seeing the build up towards it. And while I don't think the show is perfect in any way, I still really enjoy the elements of it that are there, even if it feels less like a fantasy world and more like the author just kind of crammed whatever they could think of at that time and point, and just were like, you know what? This is happening now. This is just going to happen because it can. And while most shows would have that kind of failing on them, for this show it actually kind of works because of the fact that Takuto could just insta-kill anything that comes his way. I really like the fact that we kind of get to see that there's so many different things thrown at him, and you never feel like it gets stale because everything is just so different and unique, and it just keeps me coming back and laughing. I'm just enjoying myself. Again, not perfect, and it's overall just a stupid fun time. I'm just enjoying it. It's a stupidly good fun time, and that's why I give my instant death ability a 7 out of 10. It may not be the best show on this list, but dang it, I'm having fun with it. So yeah, that's all I have to say. So let's hop into the next show. Mashle Season 2 is back to bring us more magic and muscle, and I'm all here for it. So, how do we kick off this season? Basically, after the last season having one of Mashle's biggest secrets being revealed, he now has to prove he's allowed to both live and stay at the school by competing in the Divine Visionary Candidate exam, where all sorts of shenanigans get in Mashle's way as he tries to beat this exam. And the question remains, will he be able to pull it off? Let's find out. And yeah, I don't know why I had to say it like that, but basically, diving into my own thoughts on this, it's kind of interesting as I ended up actually rewatching the first 2 episodes of this season, since I actually popped into them a little after I finished rewatching the first season. And then I rewatched them a second time just to sit through all the episodes on the way through. And while it seems like the jokes are in the same position as season 1 where they don't land as much the second time, I am still confident in saying that on the first watch for the rest of the episodes, I freaking love this. Like, Mashle has once again proven why it is such a funny and entertaining anime, as there are so many great moments, both in terms of comedy, storytelling, especially when they actually get to the main story of the season, which happens literally less than like 2 or so episodes in, which is great. I'm 100% behind that. There's just so many amazing, hilarious moments in this anime. And even the opening theme is great. Though I don't think it really fits the vibe of Mashle, it's still probably one of my favorite openings this season because it's just so good. And as a first watch, instead of a rewatch like with the first season, I can confidently say Mashle is doing great with this season. In fact, I'd even say that they're kind of outdoing themselves with this season, as there are so many fun and entertaining elements that really add to the comedy and the world. And dude, I just laughing so much. It's such a good time, and there's so many crazy twists and turns that are happening, and I'm just ready to see more of what Mashle can do, since Mash, just like last season, has some awesome strategies to defeat his opponents, and I just really enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And that's why I give Mashle Season 2, at this time, a very high 9 out of 10. So excited to see what kind of stuff goes down. There's still some elements to it that I'm a bit iffy on, but those are very few and far between. I'm really just so happy with what I'm watching. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's hop into something a little more cultured. I've decided I'm gonna be a hero and make my sister proud. Lick it. Yes, my queen.
Haha! The power of slavery prevails! It's the most powerful in the universe!
Swagger down the street with your...
Next on the list, we got Chain Soldier, and similar to its death ability, I wasn't really too on board with the start of this anime. Like, when I first heard the descriptions and stuff like that, I really was not interested at all, and I was actually planning to skip this one. But after hearing a lot of people say it's actually really, really good, I decided to sit down and watch this, and now I'm going to share my thoughts. So yeah, starting off our story summary here, I guess trying to explain how things start. Our main character, Yuki, who lives in a world where girls gain superpowers called peaches, while boys don't have any powers at all, finds himself sucked to this dimension called Mato, where he finds himself saved by a group of girls known as members of the Anti-Demon Corps, which use their powers to help save him. However, after a bit of time, he finds himself in a pretty dire situation with one of the girls, and using her slave ability, the girl gives him superpowers of sorts to help her fight against these Mato demon creatures. And after that, he ends up getting recruited into their ranks, and a bunch of sexy shenanigans ensue as they just kind of survive in this Mato dimension trying to hunt down these monsters. And yeah, so for my thoughts on this anime, I guess the best way to describe it is that in the beginning, it was actually pretty interesting. I thought the plot for the first few episodes were kind of pretty solid, actually. I actually thought there were some really nice elements there. A bit of mystery here and there, though they kind of make a lot of the elements also pretty obvious. And of course, you got some normal harem moments, stuff like that. The normal stuff you see in these types of shows that you just get kind of used to seeing, and it's pretty solid. However, like The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, where there's some more serious plot elements, I found that those were kind of the more weaker elements to the show. Since I do think the harem moments can be kind of entertaining, though they are kind of just there. They're something you get kind of used to seeing these types of shows. They're fine and not exactly anything unique, but those are kind of fun. But then you get to the main plot, and it's just something you kind of suffer from with series that follow a guy just working with a group of badass women. It's just this thing where all of the girls are just really powerful, just taking down these monsters while the guy is there helping out if he can. And then some evil, super sinister thing is going down, and you have to try to figure out how to stop it. And that kind of stuff just happens in all kinds of shows like this. And that's where things I felt like they were starting to get not necessarily boring, but more simplistic. They just weren't as entertaining as they were earlier on, where there was still a bit of uncertainty of what to expect in the show. All the kind of, I guess, whimsical of it all, what kind of mysteries this world has created, they've all just kind of vanished into thin air as you get a really good read of everything. And while I don't think it's terrible, and I do enjoy what I'm watching, I wouldn't say it's my favorite anime this season, but it's still enjoyable enough, and I'm having a decent time. And that's why I give Chain Soldier a 7 out of 10. And now, with that out of the way, let's get into something a little more wholesome. Let's go! The Dangers in My Heart is back with its second season, and it's ready to bring back the super sugary wholesomeness as well as adding its own spice to make this season shine. So, yeah, without further delay, let's just hop right into this. So, picking up from the last season, the school year is now almost at its end with only a few more months to go, and along with that, all sorts of different events go down for Yamada and Ichikawa as the relationship slowly grows closer and closer, all the while a bunch of other events ensue with a few other characters. So, yeah, as anyone who has watched my first review on this show for the first season is aware, I absolutely love this show. It's one of my favorite rom-coms ever. It's definitely up there as some of my just overall favorite rom-coms just permanently. There's so many shows out there, so many rom-coms I watched, yet this is definitely one of the highest rated ones for me personally, as I just really enjoy it. I get super invested in the story. Yamada and Ichikawa actually bounce off each other so well in such a nice way that you just can't help but want to root for their relationship. And I just really freaking enjoy how not just them, but a bunch of other characters are getting some spotlight. However, that doesn't mean that the main characters get taken out of the spotlight, as there are many moments in this season that actually, to me, feel like it does better than the first season, as not only does it have, personally, in my opinion, a better opening theme. I didn't hate the first one, but I really like this one a lot more. But also, there's some character developments of the show that really push some of the characters to change who they are. I won't say who for spoiler's sake, but there's just so many nice moments here that really help develop the characters of this world, and especially Ichikawa and Yamada's relationship. And overall, I'm loving it. I'm just freaking loving it. It's just one of my favorite animes this season, and I am so excited to keep seeing what the rest of season 2 has in store. And oh man, it's so good. It's hard not to just talk about how much I freaking love this anime. Season 2 has done such a great job, and the only thing that's really bringing it down is, well, this guy. But other than him, the rest of the show has just been so perfect, and there are almost no episodes in this season of the show that I could say just weren't my cup of tea. In fact, there was only like 2 that were kind of either just iffy or just all right for me. But other than those 2 specific episodes, they're just kind of like more chill episodes that don't have too much development. They're just kind of small events just going over time, which don't hit as hard as some of the bigger events, but they're still very nice. I just think that there's so many things to the story that make it fantastic, and that's why I give this show one of my highest, and almost hitting it, but not quite, 9 out of 10. It's right there. It's right at the top. It's just missing by one tiny notch. It's so good. It's peak anime. It's peak rom-com. It's just so good. And yeah. But that's all I really got to say on that. So let's move on to the last show of this list. Alright, we've arrived at one of the most anticipated anime that was releasing during this season, which is Solo Leveling. A series primarily popular due to its manhwa release. Tons of people were excited to see what type of shows it turned out to be, myself included, as someone who actually hadn't read the manhwa, but I have seen some of the images, and some of them just look so freaking good, and I was very curious to see how they would handle this anime adaptation. So yeah, we'll talk about all that in a bit, so I'm just gonna quickly summarize how this show starts. Basically, the way it starts is, in a world where portals, dungeons, and hunters, which are basically just players from an RPG, exist, our main character Jingwoo is known as one of the weakest hunters around. However, after gaining an ability that lets him level himself up, which is normally not possible, he slowly rises up the ranks as his level just keeps getting higher and higher, all while continuing to train himself tirelessly to become one of the strongest just in the entire world, all while also trying to look after his family. And that's all I can really describe without either going into spoilers or diving too deep into things, so we'll just move on from that. So I'm going to be honest about this show, about how I felt from the get-go. The first 2 episodes, not for me. They weren't awful, but other than like near the end of episode 1 and some of the elements of episode 2, which had me on the edge of my seat, minus those moments, the overall episodes themselves just didn't really intrigue me that much. I know that sounds stupid to say, but for those first 2 episodes, while there were some iconic moments in there that I felt were really good, overall, I'd say that I just wasn't super excited at first. In fact, I thought I was going to not care about the show at all and call it overhyped and not as good as people say it was. However, after that, once we got to episode 3 and onward, the show just got better and better with each episode. Like, I'm going to say this here now, I was shocked to find the show, as I kept watching, just got better and better. Minus episode 7, which was kind of just alright. Episodes 1 to 6 just seemed to just get better and better. I keep saying that, but that's just how it felt. Just every single episode from episode 3 to 6 just kept getting so good. Every episode just topped the last one, and I just got so excited to see what would happen next, as they were just so entertaining. Seeing Jinwoo's story was so much better than I thought it was going to be. There were some really fascinating elements, a lot of really cool stuff, and overall, I just enjoyed myself so much. I was having such a good time, and it's just, Solo Leveling was just fantastic after that. I was really enjoying it. And while episode 7, as I said, was a bit more weak than the rest of the episodes, since it has something in it that happens that I was just like, okay, that seems a bit unbelievable, but it is what it is. I still think that it was still a pretty solid episode overall, and I'm excited to see what happens next on Jinwoo's story because there's so many awesome things here to talk about, such as the music, the animation, and while I do think the art style is not as good as the manhwa from the little bits of it I've seen, it's not bad. In fact, the animation really is what needs to carry this here, since the art style, it's not too overly special, but the animation that comes with it, I normally am not someone to geek out about animation, but there are times in this where I'm just like, whoa, that was incredible. And it's just helped by the awesome music that this show has. And there's so much charm to it that surprised me with how much I thought I was going to think the show was just going to be okay, all right, nothing special, only to be met with something that's just absolutely incredible and blows my mind with how good it got as each episode just seemed to get better and better. And yeah, overall, I just really freaking enjoy it now, and I'm just excited to see what Jinwoo does next. And that's why I give Solo Leveling, as of right now, a 9 out of 10. It's done a fantastic job of drawing me in, and I'm just excited to see what kind of stuff it has in store next. And yeah, that wraps up this list, and oh boy, what a list it was. To be honest, I had originally thought of adding more shows to this list, but at the end of the day, there was just too many shows to cover, so this is all I got for you, and thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also do anime fans of the channel, and if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to leave a like. And once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all around. Peace!